With the new Monument of Triumph update, we got a ton of really cool and exciting additions to the game. One, including the new Soul Siphon aspect for the Void Warlock. And today, I have this Soul Siphon Poison build I'm excited to show you. Let's get into it. So for this build, there are two main components that we have. For the first main component, we have the Necrotic Grip Gauntlets for the Warlock. And for the second main component, we have the Soul Siphon Void aspect. Quickly, I'll go over the extra aspect and fragments. First, I have Feed the Void, just for more survivability and of course for more grenades. For the fragments, I have Echo of Expulsion, just for the extra explosions. Next, I have the Echo of Provisions, just so I can get extra melee energy. Then I have Echo of Remnants, just so my grenades last a little longer. Echo of Undermining, so my Void grenades weaken. And of course, Echo of Persistence, so my buffs last a little longer. For my super of choice, I went with Nova Warp, just so I can have high super uptime. The exotic weapon I went with is Monte Carlo. When you deal damage with this weapon, it reduces your melee cooldown and has a chance to fully charge your melee ability when you get a kill. For the artifact, I have Hunter's Journal, I have Shield Crush, Expanding Abyss, Void Hegemony, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I have Targeting Autoloader, Counter Energy, Sustain Fire, and Elemental Siphon. Real quickly, I'll go over the armor mods I have chosen. For the helmet, I have Hands On, so I can have higher super uptime. I have Kinetic Siphon for those kinetic orbs, and Heavy Ammo Finder for more heavy ammo. For the gauntlets, I have Heavy Handed, so my melees create orbs of power, and 2 momentum transfers, so when I deal damage with my grenade, it reduces my melee cooldown. Of course, the chest armor is usually your own preference. I usually always go with the Concussive Dampener, because there's always usually area of effect damage, but I also like to have charged up as well. For the leg armor, I have 2 kinetic weapon surges, so my Monte Carlo does even more damage, and an invigoration, so I can get even more melee energy. For the Warlock Bond, I have Time Dilation and Powerful Attraction, just so I can have high armor charge uptime, and an Outreach, as you guessed it, so I can reduce my melee cooldown every time I use a class ability. Of course, for your stat distributions, having the highest melee stat possible is for the best, as it'll give you the most damage. I have pretty bad armor, so my stat distribution is pretty terrible, but just make sure you have high melee stat, so you have high melee uptime, and of course, damage. So that's pretty much the gist of the build. Let's get to testing. So one game mode I really like to test my builds on is an Onslaught, which pretty much always has high ad density, and it also has escalating difficulty, so I think it's a really good way to test where your build kind of lies, like low end, high end. I think this build holds up really well kind of in all ranges, and you'll kind of see that later on, but I'm just gonna try and go as far as possible. We'll see how far I can go. This is on Grandmaster difficulty, so 450 light level is the max, but we'll just see how far we can go. That was pretty close. I almost died, but that super was pretty clutch. Alrighty, we actually made it to the end. Let's see if we can finish this up. And there we go. I mean, with the combination of Soul Siphon and Necrotic Grip, it has really good ad clear and even damage potential, because when they're all kind of grouped up like that and the explosions are going off and you have the poison, it all works together really well. But that's pretty much it for the build. Thank you so much for watching and have a good night.